And welcome to the first episode of WCCFTech Lab. What is the WCCFTech Lab, you may ask? Well, it's pretty simple. All it is playing with stuff and having fun with it. Now, you won't find any reviews here, or you may get the occasional comparison just to see how one thing differs from another, but this isn't for reviews. If you're looking for reviews, just check over here and check out our review of the Nixius View 24A FreeSync monitor if you're itching for a review, or check for the rest of the videos on our channel for reviews and such. But this is for fun. What we're doing today is we're taking something as basic as the FX 8350 and we're pairing it up with a GTX 980 Ti hybrid from EVGA, and we're going to see how well these two things play together at 4K. Now, the video card is overclocked slightly to these values, and it's boosting to around 1450 megahertz on the GPU die. Now, let's jump into the various games and see how well this combination works at 4K gaming. But before we take a look at the games, I want to take a quick look at the system itself. We've got the Asus 970 Pro Gaming Aura with an 8350 clocked at 4.6 gigahertz, only 8 gigabytes of DDR3 2133 AMD gamer RAM. We've got a 2 terabyte Seagate SSHD and a 1200 watt Cooler Master power supply, and this is again the EVGA GTX 980 Ti hybrid. And starting off with Battlefield 4, we've got the game set to 4K resolution, and we went with the Ultra preset, but we did modify it to disable MSAA, and these are the results. The game came in with a minimum of 47 FPS and an average of 69 FPS. I would call that more than playable, with 4K being limited to 60 Hz at the moment. So let's jump into the next one. And the next game we've got on the dock is Dirt Rally. We ran this one at 4K settings. Again, we disabled MSAA and left it at the Ultra preset. Surprisingly enough, this game came away doing fairly well with a minimum of 62.3 FPS and an average of 80 FPS. Again, with a 60 Hz refresh rate on 4K, that's more than playable. Jumping into the juggernaut that is Grand Theft Auto 5. We go ahead and set it to 4K, but we disable all forms of anti-aliasing. And scrolling down, you can see we set everything to very high on all of the basic settings, and again, nothing on the reflection MSAA. And going all the way down, we didn't turn on anything in the advanced settings, but jumping into the game itself and running through the benchmark, this game probably yielded one of the worst as far as the minimums go, with a minimum FPS of 19 but average 63 FPS, which, it's fairly playable. I mean, you got an occasional stutter, but nothing to stop the gameplay experience. For Hitman Absolution, we simply went with the Ultra preset with no form of MSAA. We left AA off in this game, and it was surprising, to be perfectly honest, that the game ran as well as it did, with a minimum FPS of 54 and an average of 63.8. Yielded a very consistent playing style, and it was very fluid. Up next, we've got Shadow of Mordor, which we ran it again at 4K, just like all of the other ones. And this one, we did go in and change the Ultra preset to disable motion blur and FXAA, so that we could disable any form of AA and run it that way. Now, this one, actually, with the HD texture pack, I was a bit concerned, but we walked away with a minimum of 49 FPS and an average of 63. So, really good performance for that game, too. Now it's time to move on to something a little bit more modern with Star Wars Battlefront. We ran this one at Ultra, but we did again adjust the settings to disable FXAA. We completely turned that off. Now in the game, we ran it at Hoth, and we got an average of 57 FPS with a minimum of 51. So it's actually fairly smooth, but still impressive that it pulled those numbers at 4K. And last but not least, The Witcher 3 at 4K. Now in this game, we did go into the post-processing settings and set that all to medium, and then we went into the graphic settings. We used the high preset, but we did disable Hairworks for this test, so I think that's perfectly understandable why we did that. Now in the game, through our test bench run, we've got a minimum of 43 FPS and an average of 49. Of course, this is the lowest numbers of any of the games that we tested, but this is The Witcher 3 we're talking about. This isn't easy game to run, especially at 4K. So I was actually surprised. And if you sit back and you game with a controller on this game, those frame rates are more than acceptable, and it's a very smooth experience. Well, there you have it, guys. It actually performs fairly well. If you had it hooked up with, say, a G-Sync monitor, it would be insanely good. Now, is this something I'm going to recommend you go out and buy? No, not necessarily. It's just parts that we had here, and we wanted to put them together and see kind of how they worked. Now, in the next video, we're going to take a look at disabling and adjusting the tessellation level on AMD graphics cards and see kind of what kind of impact that has, because it's always said AMD graphics cards have weaker tessellation characteristics than the NVIDIA GeForce counterparts. So we're going to see the visual differences as well as performance differences by adjusting the tessellation values down and then disable them altogether. So stay tuned for that video, and if you have any suggestions or things that you would just like to see us try just to see how they would work, say you don't want to spend the money or you're just curious, go ahead and drop a comment down there in the comment section and let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll see you guys in the next video. This has been Keith with WCCFTech TV. Please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.